This video is about what I call the Prius effect. Now, I want to be clear, the Prius effect is not some physics law whereby when somebody drives a Prius, they for some reason have to drive way slower than the speed limit. That's not what this is. That could be a thing, but that's not this thing. Let me back up and tell you where I came up with the Prius effect in the first place. It's this idea that, somebody's driving a Prius and they go, and no knock against people driving Priuses, is just pedal to the metal a little bit. It's this idea that you're driving a Prius thinking that you're doing a ton to help climate change. And you're doing some stuff to help climate change if you drive a Prius, but not that much. And the Prius effect is this idea that what you're doing and focusing on, while it may have a little effect, is ignoring a much larger course of action or a much larger issue out there that in a way you either don't know about, but most people do know about it, and they're choosing to sort of ignore it by saying, I'm just going to focus and feel really good about this little thing I'm doing. But the Prius effect is sort of ignoring the biggest offender. It's this idea of like plastic straws. People go apeshit about plastic straws, avoiding plastic straws. It's such a minimal amount of pollution in the ocean from plastic straws, like way less than 1%. But we go, oh, it's all in on plastic straws, and we have a cause and we make a big deal about it, when there's much bigger things you can do that will way more significantly affect change in whatever area you're trying to affect change in. In the health and wellness arena and with my clients, there's often something hanging out over here, and they know it, and it's the biggest source of their stress. And instead of addressing that or even acknowledging that, they and we focus on something that is going to affect some change but not the major thing. So they might say, I have a relationship that is not healthy and not good for me. I can't deal with that. I don't even want to think about dealing with it. So I'm going to get all aggro about food and go on 1,000 diets, and just this is going to solve the big issue. And here's my whole take on the Prius effect. There are situations in all of our lives where we know that there's like a thing hanging out here that if we knew that if we took that on head on, it would probably take care of lots of our stress. But sometimes that's not realistic, and sometimes it's just too big for us to even deal with. But I do think that it's important to acknowledge what that is. What is the biggest thing that's kind of hanging out there? Is it your job? Is it your relationship? Is it who knows? And what are you using potentially to distract yourself from this big thing? Because just knowing what this big thing is hanging out there allows you to do one of two things. One, either get yourself strong enough to tackle that big thing and say, okay, I gotta finally do something that's actually gonna, take care of really what's at stake here. Or knowing that at least can affect change and affect the way you do your life day to day, what you do day to day to take care of yourself, how you manage your stress, how you take care of yourself, how well you treat yourself. In the work that I do, there's a lot of distraction, mostly in the place of food. People are distracting themselves from their lives by focusing entirely on food and thinking that they need to. I don't have time for this thing over here, this big thing that if I addressed it, I'd probably eat better. If you guys didn't see my other video, Eat Like a Happy Person, this is what this is about. The Prius effect is stopping short of acknowledging and or acting on the biggest offender in your life, the biggest source of what is causing you stress and unhappiness. And for most people, it is just acknowledging that, just identifying it and say, okay, that's that son of a bitch thing that's there. And I hope I can get to a point where I can address that, or at least take pains in my own life to not be affected by that thing so much. But it's so important to just know what that thing is. Nail it down, name it, write it down, and be aware of it. And then take action in your life to deal with it the best way that you can. That's how you ultimately have better habits established in the way that you eat and the way that you exercise, but more important than that, establish habits of self-care and kindness to yourself. If you're eating well as a distraction from what's really at stake here, that's not self-care. If you acknowledge what that big thing is and then say, I need to be really kind to myself because this thing's hanging over me and it's really affecting my stress, and I need to do a little bit better job or a lot better job of really taking care of myself and being compassionate to myself day to day, so that over time I can strengthen and embolden myself to potentially address what's really at stake in my life with the biggest source of stress in my life. That's the Prius effect. It's absolutely so crucial to ultimate happiness and health. Is just identify if there's something hanging out there and you kind of know it, but you've been shoving it down for so long and distracting yourself with exercise and diet and whatever else, social media, all those kinds of things. Move over here, look at it, know what it is. You don't have to act on it right now, but knowing what it is absolutely powerful in your trek for ultimate health and happiness. That's the Prius effect. Don't fall prey to it. But don't fall prey to it. But I gotta go. I got upstairs making my famous crabless cakes. Crab cakes without crab. You can't, Sid, you can't. Yes, you can. Yeah, you can. Trumpet Royale mushrooms, baby. That's a trick. So just shut your pie hole. All right. Okay.